Hi everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the LittleAutisticMe Podcast once again. My name is David and I am a late diagnosed autistic male. Today I'm going to talk about something which many other autistic people will be familiar with, autistic burnout. If this is something which is likely to upset you, then please stop listening now. I don't want to be the cause of problems for anyone. I hadn't planned on talking about this now, but I feel like I am heading into a period of burnout right now, and I am trying to prevent it from becoming full-blown. I have had to make several phone calls and send emails to deal with stuff recently, and it has left me absolutely exhausted. I think it didn't help that I have had a really bad chest infection. This has meant that I was pretty much laid up in bed for the best part of 2 weeks. And on top of all of that, I have been struggling with my finances. To be honest, they have been severely messed up, which has caused me a seriously high level of anxiety. Worrying about how I am going to pay my bills, am I going to lose my car, can I afford food, and so on. Then I am trying to make sure I get episodes of this podcast out. I have been trying to get episodes made and published by Sunday nights. The last few episodes have been a bit late, but I can't stress about that too. I'm barely managing as it is. To be honest though, this podcast is probably one of the few things that's actually keeping me sane at the moment. Also, my house is, to me, a bit of a mess, but other people don't think so. It feels endless. I want to point out though that each autistic person may experience burnout differently and some may not experience it at all. For me, I can usually function, albeit in a more limited capacity, when I'm in burnout. This has caused me confusion in the past. I have spent a lot of my life feeling absolutely horrific. I have been so tired that it physically hurt. I have been in that can't get out of bed state several times, but hearing other autistic people talking about burnout in that way made me feel that it wasn't what I was going through at times when it wasn't so severe. I now know that it was. As I said, autistic burnout might be different for each individual, but it can also be different at different times. This could be situation dependent. Maybe it's to do with how many other negative things are going on in a person's life, or maybe it's more random than that. I can't say because I am not an expert. I just know how it is for me and what I've heard from other people. For some autistic people, burnout might last a short period of time. For others, it can be months or even years. Our abilities will most likely be greatly reduced when in burnout, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't move. I tend to find that I get exhausted, painfully exhausted. I want to avoid people even more than I usually do. My migraines start ramping up and the rest of my body starts to hurt. I find it more difficult to concentrate on anything, even things that I usually enjoy, and start getting very agitated when people try to communicate with me. I think the best thing is to try to figure out what our individual signs of burnout are and to stop it if possible. If you work, maybe take time off if you can. Try to limit what you do, especially if you have to do things which you find difficult. Even something like explaining to people around you that you might need a bit more help than usual to do daily tasks can help. If there's someone who can help take the pressure off, then ask them to do that. Unfortunately, it's not always possible to stop burnout from happening to us. Sometimes the only thing we can do is to deal with it when it does happen. If you're like me, you might not notice that you're in burnout until it is too late to stop it. Self-care is so important in this situation. For me, it usually involves limiting what I do, watching stuff on YouTube or catching up on TV programs that I've had recorded for ages but not got round to watching. It also involves limiting my contact with people, especially people whom I don't know. I usually take a break from social media. That can be so stressful, and it is a stress that I really don't need when I'm feeling so awful already. I also find that rest is helpful. Burnout periods are when I tend to find that I can actually sleep, and I have to, a lot. When I'm in a particularly bad period of burnout, I feel like I want to hibernate for months, but that's not usually possible. Something which makes it more difficult for me is that burnout tends to happen at times when I have things to do. It's often when I have things to sort out in the house, or I have companies emailing me for information that they need, or even worse when I have guests due to visit. Not that I don't enjoy spending time with my guests, I do. They are people whom I love and enjoy being around, but the timing is often awful. Thankfully though, these are the people who understand when I tell them that I'm not feeling great and have to limit what I do. Burnout is awful. All of us who suffer from it know this. If you are going through burnout, then please take care of yourself, and I hope it passes quickly for you. If you are not autistic but have an autistic person in your life who suffers from burnout, then please just try to be there for them in whatever capacity they need you to be. Take your lead from them if they know what they need. If not, give them time and space and do whatever you can to take the pressure off. To all of you who support us when we are going through autistic burnout, we appreciate you. We may not always be able to convey this to you, but we do. Anyway, I hope this has helped at least one person in some way. Thank you for listening as always. I appreciate you, and I apologise if this has been a bit rambly, but I am feeling absolutely knackered. If you like what I do, please consider making a donation at coffee.com/LittleAutisticMe or paypal.me/LittleAutisticMe, but only if you can do so. Take care of yourself, and thanks again for listening.